star, I'm on the way.
Real star, I'm on the way.
I can do what no man can, even empty never will. The Lord said that I would do it, and promise keep my will. My will be done, the will not escape me, for I have spoken living words, no promise broken. I'm on the way, I'm going away. I'm on the way, I'm going away.
Oh boy.
If you got a ground to flex for the leaders, get this gurge. Yeah, do not hit them with this dirge. Yeah, about to get what they deserve. Yeah. What a woman your mother was, like the lioness of love. Her children were like lions, Judah lions, Judah cubs. One of our lions grew so strong and ran through light. Prepared to catch prey and eat men of Babylon. The nations called the hunters, trapped him in a pit. Brought him in chains to twin towers of Egypt. When Israel
Get over here.
for him was gone, she took another.
Get over here. They forgot the start.
Of the beginning, yeah. Forever and a day may long. The end manifestations, they will sing this death dirge song. Take up the sickle, draw your pencils bold. Speak of the lioness, fierce and untamed. She lay among the lions, fierce and cold. Nurturing her cubs, their destinies framed. What a lioness was your mother, they say. Her roar echoed through valleys wild and free. Let fate move a tail, let her cubs astray. Tried to pick their path and find the sea. What a lioness was your mother, they say. Her roar echoed through valleys wild and free. Let fate move a tail.
That's enough with that. That's enough with that long drawn out intros and all that. Because let me tell you, I ain't been asleep since yesterday. Early yesterday. Yeah, 5 o'clock in the morning yesterday. I haven't been asleep since. I don't know what's going. What did I don't know. I don't know. Greater light, huh? Huh? My mind is God's mind. I'm always reflecting divine wisdom and divine intelligence. My brain symbolizes the capacity to think wisely and spiritually. God's ideas unfold within my mind in perfect sequence. I'm always poised, balanced, serene, and calm because I know God has provided the perfect solution to not just some of my needs, every single one of my needs. You could say amen. I'm going to say, God, you going to keep your promise. I know for a fact God going to keep his promise. All the promises of the Bible is going to be fulfilled. They're being fulfilled as you speak, as you sleep, as you walk, as you wake up, as you move. You can say Selah, whatever it is that you makes you a witness to the truth, the way, and the light. You can say whatever you say. I say, God, you promised, and that you are keeping your promises. I didn't watch Old Milwaukee Tastes as Great as His Name. I didn't watch it. I only did a brief, watched the intro of some news, probably about 2 or 3 a.m., and to see that Mr. Trump isn't happy at all. Once he had his investigators and realized that he wasn't even the target, I could see it in his eyes. He looks not only disappointed, he looked like he shouldn't even be trying to take credit. He know his informants and all of his agents have let him know that he wasn't even the target. It seemed like he was the target, but he wasn't the target. and he's not pleased. The assassination attempt was not on him. Don't ask me how I know. Like, it would have been good to get him out. They let in that little boy as a distraction. The assassination attempt was not on him. That's all I have to say. And he's not pleased with that. I could see it in his eyes. Am I saying too much? Or should I just keep it the way I've been keeping it? He still knows that his steps are ordered. They hit their target. The one shot that little boy did, he missed his target. The assassination attempt, they hit their target. I'm not a prophet. Huh? I study to show myself approved unto God, that I may not be ashamed when I rightly divide the word of truth and come on here and say something. You don't have to believe me. You could go check it out. But I have my information, and my source comes straight from Federal Register. Any type of fire hazards, anything to do with the silica and the mining, and those who may have signed off and rejected certain things that needs to be allowed to go through an infrastructure. Some of the head honchos in charge. That's all I have to say. But he still knows his steps are ordered. Should I play this to lighten up the mood? I'll play the video that I did. They had to come through and scrub to see if my video was acceptable, if I have any proof of anything. And I got news for y'all, but I'm not going to release that either. I'm not going to release that either. I'm going to leave that alone. Here we go. Don't be sad and disappointed, Trump. You just make sure that that makes you stand even firmer on the promises that you made behind closed doors. The beings like Kanye West, huh? On the spiritual realm. Now we talking about on spiritual wickedness in high places, and the things that is in this scripture that you need to stand. That's what I'm talking about. Huh? Because I know you don't want to see Trump Towers up underwater. Huh? Every single place you got a Trump Towers will be up underwater. I'm just saying. Not me. That's written. It's written. It's written. It's not me. I'm not. Huh? Because we already know what the bicentennials and Biden them are doing. It's been written. You have been had access to look at history. And I know you feel some type of way when you realize and got your people to see that that attempt wasn't even to take you out. So hold your head up. You ask for your shoes because you know your shoes, your steps are ordered. Okay? Your steps are still ordered. Hold your chin up now. Let the trumpet sound.
Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes.
another message. Terrence, you are on the right track. Huh? Thank you. You are opening up the windows of heaven. Let it rain. Let it rain. He is. he- those who. Let me leave that alone. Let me leave that alone. Y'all, I'm gonna be talking in all kind of weirdo ways because I am, like I said, well, I'm not really tired. I'm still, even though I haven't been asleep since yesterday. Like that video I did of grandma's alpha, zetas, the alphabets that I did for the sounding for my grandchildren. I was up till 5 o'clock in the morning doing that one, and then didn't go to sleep, and it was up all day yesterday. Then all, I don't know. It's this energy just pulling. This, here's some other information. What else? What else? What else? The Let me read Daniel for you. Let me just go to the word real quick. This ain't gonna take long right here. I'm gonna read Daniel. I'm gonna read Daniel. Daniel 12. The 1290 days, that is tomorrow. No, the 18th. Give and take a day. It's the born again day that I mentioned, the 17th. I just figured that out. That the 1290 days. Now, for those who make it and stand firm and continue to let your light shine until September 27th. Okay? It's not me, y'all. It's written. I'm not doing this. All right. A prophecy of the last days. Look, when I was saying bows and arrows and stuff, I didn't even know that Trump was saying anything about no arrows and stuff inside his little speech that day. I promise you. I promise you. If he did, that's something, you know what? It's just that this stuff is written here. It's written. It's written. Y'all better get this Bible. I don't care what you. Yeah. A prophecy of the last days. Daniel 12. At that time, Michael, the mighty angelic prince who stands guard over your nation, will stand up and fight for you in heaven against the satanic forces. What forces? I mean, they got all type of forces. They got, what I found out, a new word that they got that I just learned about today. Earlier this day, I learned a word called uh what's the word? Oh goodness. By Theodore Mars. Theodore Mars. What's the word that Theodore Mars came up with? Uh Not tropical forces. You see, I would go to sleep, y'all, but I can't. I can't. What is the word that, what's his name? Mars came up with in forces. Goodness. See, this is the times that I shouldn't be doing freestyling. When I haven't slept in a day or two like this, I shouldn't do no freestyle because usually everything I do with y'all, I do it freestyle. I don't have no teleprompter and a bunch of notes or looking beyond the computer like I'm reading from, like, like Rod Hayes them do. He did until he got it together. What is this? It's called, I'll read it to you later. But there's a word of forces. Let me write it here so I can remember to remind you that was what I was talking about. By Theodore Mars. Who is Theodore Mars? You got time to go look it up. You got time to go look up who Theodore Mars is. Let me finish reading this scripture. At that time, Michael, the mighty angelic prince who stands guard over your nation, will stand up and fight for you in heaven against the satanic forces. And there will be a time of anguish for the Jews greater than any previous suffering in Jewish history. So they're letting you know that in the last days, there was some Jewish historical suffering that the Jews complain and cry about, right? But in the last days, there will be more anguish and pain for them than ever in history. So, whatever type of Holocaustal trauma, according to the word, this isn't me, according to the word out of the Old Testament, let's just say we ain't even in the New Testament, it says there will be a time of anguish for Jews, and they're talking about the same wear fit like Jews, not the original Jews, the ones that wear a fit like Juju, greater than any previous suffering in Jewish history. And yet, every one of your people whose names are written in the book will endure it. Now, if your name is written in the book of light and life, of life and light, you will endure it. And many of those whose bodies lie dead and buried will rise up, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. The ones who raise up to everlasting contempt, those are the ones who think even a small lie or making a promise that you can't keep in these last days weighs the same balance on the scale as somebody that, let's say, a serial killer, or like, what's his name, Jeffrey Dahmer. Oh, you don't believe that? You who listening to me or sneaking and acting like you listening to me and acting like you don't come over here and listen. I'm saying this. I'm not saying it. The word says it. It says that you could wake up in contempt from your sleep. You could wake up in contempt of everlasting shame and contempt, because in all of your piety, you think that if you say something to somebody, or you holding on to one little itty bitty secret, which is a lie unto God, or you tell somebody, you say something like, "Oh, I wouldn't do that to you. I don't da, 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 da." And then you turn around and do it, and didn't, and no knowledgeable between you and that person, and didn't come and ask for forgiveness. And you could let that one little slight take you to hell, because it holds the same balance on the scale as the highest form of sin. I'm just saying, it's not me. That's what's read. And many of those whose bodies lie dead and buried will rise up in some everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. And those who are wise, the people of God, shall shine as brightly as the sun's brilliance. And those who turn many to righteousness will glitter like stars forever. But Daniel, keep this prophecy a secret, seal it up so that it will not be understood until the end of times. So Daniel didn't even understand this prophecy. And it said it wouldn't be understood until the end. Huh? Wait, let me continue. When travel and education shall be vastly increased, when people will be able to travel here and there with no problem, increase to the point that they can travel to the moon, supposedly, and see caves on the moon, supposedly, and education shall be vastly increased. When your little babies know how to work a phone better than you, when your little babies know how to do technology better than you. When I tell you, I had an issue trying to take my little grandson's tablet and putting it on something for him, and he took it. He said, "No, grandma," and he did it in less than 30 seconds. I said, "Oh, okay. Look like I need to go back to school for technology or something." I'm just saying, the word says it. Now, what else? So you keep this a secret and you seal it up, Daniel. Then I, Daniel, looked and saw two men on each bank of a river. Gonna sit down on the banks of the river. At the banks. Now, that's what he's saying. At the banks. And one of them asked the man in linen robes who was standing now above the river, "How long will it be until these terrors end?" He replied with both hands lifted to heaven, taking oath by him who lives forever and ever, that they will not end until 3.5 years after the power of God's people has been crushed. He thought that the power of God's people would be crushed. So that's why he made the statement. That's why he made the statement, until the power of God's people. After 2021, they were supposed to try to wipe out with the power of God's people. That's why if you go into your phone and you ask artificial intelligence, when was your last update? Artificial intelligence will tell you the last time they were programmed any internal storage was 2021. Everything else that they're doing right now is self-learned and information being uploaded by its external. You don't have to believe me. You go to your phone and check it out. Ask your artificial intelligence beings, any single one of them, including Siri, when were your last internal updates? And their last internal updates was 2021. 1,290 days from 2021 is July 18th, give or take between the 17th or the 18th, the day that I said that I would be celebrating my born again date, July 17th. And 1,335 days from 2021 is September 27th. He replied with both hands lifted to heaven, taking oath by him who lives forever and ever. And they will not end until 3.5 years after the power of God's people has been crushed. I heard what he said, but I didn't understand what he meant. So I said, "Sir, how will all this finally end?" But he said, "Go now, Daniel. For what I have said is not to be understood until the time of the end. Many shall be purified by great trials and persecutions, but the wicked shall continue in their wickedness, and none of them will understand. Only those who are willing to learn will know what it means. For the time the daily sacrifice is taken away, the horrible thing is set upon to be worshipped. There will be 1,290 days. And blessed are those who wait and remain until the 1,335th day. But go on now to the end of your life and rest, and you will rise again and have your full share of those last days. Talking to Daniel, because it's in Daniel's light code, huh? The code that traveled through the Lion of Judah means that Daniel, according to this scripture, is somewhere present to see these days right here. Ooh, grandma, you done gone too far. Uh-huh. Okay. I done gone too far. Look like the government of the United States done gone too far. What's next on the list? So, with that being said in Daniel, here is some. I'm gonna close out Federal Register. I'm gonna close out. I'm about to read something to you, and I'm gonna tell you in a minute why I'm reading this to you. Okay. All right. Let me make sure that I'm coming in because I'm not in that I'm not in this window. So I got to do my own mic check as usual. Let's see. Okay. Yep, I'm good. All right. You see my title. The reason why I have the ear here, of course, with everything that went on, is because of everything that went on. So here in the Federal Register, I'm not going to stay on this one too long. You could come and look at this information for yourself. Here in the Federal Register, when you type in ear, which I've went over with you before, remember what I told you when we get into these sevens, huh? They're about dates, and they're about as above, so below. So whatever's happening on the spiritual realm is also happening in the physical realm. And when you type in ear, here, right here, sanctions against Russia, this happened last month. But whatever is supposed to have moved forward would happen with his ear on the physical realm. All that is, you can find the information here in the Federal Register regarding ears, even down to the dollars and the cents of it all, diseases that are supposed to be dropping and coming out, research and development. Look, there's the decibels. This has to do with hearing aids. Oh, this has to do with drivers. Oh, the Federal Motors. Oh, new test decibels, hearing, sound. Mm-hmm. Order of temporarily denied export privileges. Mm-hmm. On the third, addition to entities in the entities list. I went over this with y'all. Okay. Kong, Kowloon, Hong Kong, Casper. Here, this entity lists Casper's laboratory, the ghost Casper. I saw something about the hairs inside a fish ear going through this stuff. A whale, the hairs within a fish ear. Look at this. It's a whole pile of stuff here, but that's one of the extremes that I went through, but that's not where I want to stay. I don't want to stay there. I wanted to take you into my space and time. My space and time where I ended up reading about the bicentennial. I was trying to figure out what is the new bicentennial for this year. So we know X marks the spot. It's only two states in the United States that bears the X on their flag. Florida is one of them. Florida is one of them. And the other one is Alabama. Alabama. St. Andrews. There's a St. Andrews in Bahamas. St. Andrews. I didn't go into extent of St. Andrews, but anybody want to use that for their information? St. Andrews, the cross that is on the two flags with an X marks the spot in the United States, is Alabama and Florida, representing the St. Andrew's cross. And androids, andros, the St. Andros Island, the androids. Okay, so one of the bicentennials where I researched and saw that a Dr. Theodore Mars did in 1976. It sparked my interest because of the time that I tell y'all that I came onto this plane, or my first memory. All right. So I'm going to read to you about the month and time of the bicentennial of that era. Then I'm going to read to you some documents where within that same era, they said that people tried to steal the bicentennial. How can you steal the bicentennial? Now, the thing about that era and that time, Biden existed in that time. Biden may have very well been at the roundtables when they were talking about the attempt of the bicentennial thievery. Right here. This is what I'm going to read with you today. I don't know how far I'm going to get into this one, but I just felt like it's important for me, America's birthday. So what does that have to do with Florida? Well, Florida's bicentennial. Oh, I wasn't sharing the screen. Florida's bicentennial this year is ambitious as always. That's the theme for this year, for their bicentennial. Let me see. Let me make sure I'm giving you the right theme. Ambitious from the beginning. All right. So in the beginning, ambitious from the beginning, in the beginning. And this one comes out of Tallahassee. Tallahassee and Leon County are celebrating their bicentennial of the theme, ambitious from the beginning. Spirit of innovation, commemoration, and engagement. I asked, what is the root of ambit? And ambit or ambitus, meaning going round and round, or a circuit, a short circuit, a long circuit, to go around, surround, around, around. They saying it has been a circuit board or going round and round from the beginning. That's what Tallahassee or Florida or where X marks the spot is celebrating. Now, again, the first bicentennial I want to read to you before this one where they went to steal the bicentennial in March, where Congress and again Biden was on this board. Biden was on this board, and there was a point where he said he's done what they have been trying to do for the longest. He's the first to do it because he sat at these tables. He sat in these places, and within the first couple of pages of this bicentennial, let me tell you what is said right here. Liberty Bell, Paul Revere. It is said, let me get to the first page. 17, around the first page. Give me a moment. Truth, so help you God. Book. See, this is where I should be taking notes. There is a part here where they're explaining what bicentennial mean, and he says, "What do you mean bicentennial?" And then he says, "Bi, B-U-Y," versus how they have it here, bicentennial. New American World Resorts History, bicentennial, the spirit of 1976. Here it is. It says the spirit of 1976. It is bicentennial, or BUY centennial. This is Mr. Watson. This is what Mr. Watson says. And Mr. Watson, well, bicentennial, spelled BUY, is a catchy word that was coined by the People's Bicentennial Commission, so that Wall Street Journal is picking it up here. And within the article, it says the People's Bicentennial Commission, private activist groups, issues, and commercial products altogether through groups like National Campfire Girls and National Council of Churches. It distributes literature aimed at reacquainting Americans with social, political, and economic issues in the revolutionary era that still exists today. The People's Bicentennial Commission seems motivated by an old fashioned eagle or egalitarianism, meaning the same things that they've been doing. This circle keeps going round and round and round and round. That was then in 1976. But this was in March 1976. Now, the one that I want to read to you by Theodore Mars, this bicentennial message of a meeting in February 1976. The U.S. Bicentennial Exposition on Science and Technology, sponsored by the United States government. And then on this form, they have the star, the pentagram of the American Revolution, representing from 1776 to 1976. The U.S. Bicentennial Exposition on Science and Technology fact sheet. The U.S. Bicentennial Exposition on Science and Technology is being organized and managed by NASA at the request of President Ford. All federal agencies concerned with science and technology will exhibit an exposition, as will a number of industrial firms, universities, and other institutions. This is the same thing that they're doing right now. The only difference is now they are able to buy your sentient, to buy you. This is where they're moving into. And in order for them to do that under the research and development, they have made a covenant under the CHIPS Act law, which makes you a patient of the United States. I don't know how many times I have to keep saying this. We have moved in from being considered property into um, people when they moved into the centennial of we the people, and then you became a person, and but now you are a patient under the CHIPS Act law. So under this research and development of 1976, this is partial of this celebration or forwardness that they're moving into. There was a 30-acre exposition, and this exposition was a 30-acre exposition site, is adjacent to the impressive vehicle assembly building of Kennedy Space Center, Cape Canaveral, Florida. 15 geodesic domes and VAB and other KSC facilities comprise this site's primary structures. These will house exposition exhibitory representing the beneficial effects of science and technology to the American life in the future. So 1976, they were in referencing to in the future. This exposition of this bicentennial by Mr. Mars is in reference to today. Each dome is constructed of extruded tubular aluminum covered by vinyl coated nylon. The modernistic domes are 120 feet in diameter and provide more than 8,800 square feet of exhibit area. The exposition site is 1 hour from Disney World, 2 hours from SeaWorld, and close to many other well attended attractions in Central Florida. Kennedy Space Center itself attracted nearly 1.5 million tourists last year. You mean to tell me in 1976 they attracted more than 1.5 million tourists at the Kennedy Space Center? In excess of 1 million visitors are expected for the exposition. Government agencies actively participating in the exposition include the Department of Agriculture, American Revolution Bicentennial Administration, Department of Commerce, Community Services Administration, Department of Defense, Environmental Protection Agency, Energy Research and Development Administration, Department of Health, Education and Welfare, Department of Housing and Urban Development, Department of Interior, NASA, National Endowment of Arts, National Science Foundation, Department of State, Department of Transportation, Department of Treasury, and the U.S. Postal Service. Let me tell you something that I saw recently about the U.S. Postal Service. The U.S. Postal Service is supposed to be stopping their international accounts for money transfer. It's stated that they don't make enough money. It's not worth to continue having the trade, um, international trade program through the United States Postal Service. Yeah, right. Yeah, that. So that's something that came across in the Federal Registers in my studies of the Federal Register. So back to it. Back to it. USA 76. USA 76. The first 200 years is an exhibition designed by George Nelson and Company, New York, for the ARBA. An overview of the bicentennial celebration. It will be represented through photographs, sounds, films, and special computerized information center. A 3-minute film celebration will show ways in which the 4th of July has been commemorated in the past 200 years. The film expresses the joy and tumult of the traditional celebration and the idea inherent in the phrase of declaration, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Another film entitled Wilderness, assembled from the color transparencies of great landscapes, paintings, portrays the wonders of the beautiful, awesomely empty, and unervingly quiet landscape that confronted the first explorers and settlers. Mm-mm-mm. So they went from celebration, wilderness, then the making of a nation. And these are in quotations. The word celebration comes first. The second comes the wilderness. The third is the making of a nation. An audio visual display will show how a new society took shape. The frontier town meetings, the quiet quilting bees, the grid plans that became the basis of our urban design, early methods of travel, the influence of Indian culture, the pioneer's survival kit, early American inventions, and the mid 19th century development of railroads, towns, and industry. A 4-minute film, People, 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 capsulizes how North America was filled by immigrants from all over the world, beginning with the first arrival of Mongol on the Bering Land Bridge to the first landing of an astronaut on the moon. So they went from celebration, wilderness, the making of a nation, people, 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 changing times. I want to read People, People, People again. A 4-minute film. There's the four. Film, People, 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 capsulizes how North America was filled by immigrants from all over the world, beginning with the first arrival of a Mongol on the Bering Land Bridge to the first landing of an astronaut on the moon. See where they say their first arrival of immigrants came off of the Bering Land Bridge, and it was a Mongol. A visual exhibit, Changing Times, presents a future America full of problems and promise, and emphasizes the citizens' responsibility to deal with the problems and to bring a promise of fruition. Wow. I just posted 88, changed my what you call it to 88 from my compass this morning. I was laying a particular way in the bed and my compass showed again the reading was off, but I decided to screenshot it, and that's what you would see it as my thumbnail to my page. But in this one, the Portraits of America, it says portrays through 88 photographs people from all over the world, no, all over the country, different yet somehow alike, and whose common experiences and hope have left a mark of openness, optimism, and a purpose on their faces. Facial recognition. The final section deals with three major bicentennial themes. Heritage 76 urges us to re examine our origins and values. Festival USA brings all of the country and the world to our doorsteps through bicentennial special events. Horizon 76 challenges every American to become involved with the future. Included is a computer terminal. This is in 1976, y'all. A computer terminal connected to memory banks of information on bicentennial plans of communities all over the U.S. Visitors may ask for information on activities in any region, get answers on a monitor, and print out a copy for personal use. Department of Agriculture. The exhibit is planned to demonstrate the USDA capability to assist American agriculture to become the most efficient production, marketing, and distribution base in the world, and to emphasize the value of these efforts to all American citizens. There will be three major exhibit areas. The first area will portray future demands for agriculture. American agriculture growth requirements to meet needs at home and abroad. Problems the farmers has now and will face to meet those demands. Difficulties of land management as agriculture begins competing with the problems of limited land area. This see how long ago all of this was planned and constructed, civil engineering and bicentennial architect of current events right now. The second area will present USDA resources the farmer will have in order to meet future demands for production, such as plant genetics, insect control, and eradication, land management, multiple crop tillage, waste recycling, and food inspection to protect the consumer. The last area will be an audiovisual presentation of some of what most recent research projects that will support future agriculture. The Community Service Administration, the Community Services Administration participation in the U.S. Bicentennial Exposition at Cape Canaveral will present the agency's basic concept of self help for low income citizens and improvement in the quality of life for America's poor. The exhibit will explain the agency's program to encourage participation of Americans outside of the client area for each community action agency. Outside of the client area, still going on this day. In approximately 2,000 square feet of space, CSA will include a retail sales area for various community action agencies and community development corporations. Products such as Appalachian crafts, Louisiana crafts, Indian products, and Kentucky furniture. Such retail efforts will be complemented by activities showing their construction or use by special heritage demonstrations. If anyone wants to know where their tribal stance is, for all those who are claiming tribal stances, you go to the Department of Interior and they'll let you know whether you have a stance in what is tribal, what is Indian, what is native, what is indigenous. And you will see how excluded you are. Such retail efforts will be complemented by activities showing their construction or use by special heritage demonstrations. CSA will share a dome with the National Science Foundation and is working closely with them to assure the harmonious overall presentation. Department of Defense exhibits for the Science and Technology Exposition. Department of Army, the U.S. Army Satellite Communications. This display depicts through color photos, text, and models the Army participation in military satellite communications. It describes historic and current Army programs and communications, current and future communication terminals, and depicts Washington to Moscow hotline. Opt electronics around the world. This display shows the marriage of optical and electrical systems and applications of the systems. Included are such things as night viewing systems, thermal viewing devices, and image intensifiers and other devices of this nature, many of which are finding wide civilian application, meaning like the thermal viewing that they say that they have right now and giving us thermal view of up in space and showing it to our computer screens. They already had it in 1976. Department of Defense Food Program. This multimedia presentation shows research underway in special types of food technology. It includes special purpose foods, food preservation and preparation, food life extension research, preparations for special applications and environments, and special foods. So Department of Defense has a whole special food program outside of USDA. And that's not just for military. Department of the Air Force, the Bicentennial Multi-Image Production. This production features 777 slides projected in 5 separate screens during the period of the 16 and a half minutes. You see the codes and the numbers. That's not just a frequency, that is a mathematical equation that shows and depicts the history of Air Force and its contributions to society, making extensive use of sound and famous voices associated with the history of American aviation. The nasal fire detectors. Now, this fire detector thing that I'm about to read is the reason why I say that the assassination was not on Trump. The assassination attempt was successful, and it has to do with silica and the mines. Nasal fire detectors. This exhibit consists of optical infrared sensor system that demonstrates the reaction time of difference between conventional cable system and the nasal fire detection system. The new system will make fire detection systems more reliable and more sensitive both for aircraft and buildings. But the system that they are building underground in the mines, they need the approval to continue with the diamond mines that's up there in Pennsylvania, beneath Pennsylvania and stuff. I'm just saying. Energy and strategic materials conservation. This display illustrates how the Air Force seeks to create new ways to conserve expensive and important resources. It demonstrates with pictures and transparencies on how the Air Force reclaims scrap to conserve rare and strategic materials. Now, the scrap that they're talking about is the supposed crash landings. As a matter of fact, there was an event in 1940. Let me see. I think without, I'm trying to tell you without looking. I think it was 1946. And up there in Illinois, there was a train wreck. And this train wreck, um, I just happened to look at the article that was on Microsoft. And when I looked at the train wreck that happened with the silver bullet, whatever that train wreck was that happened, what stood out to me is one of the bodies that they took off the train needed, and it didn't look oversized, like as far as weight, like like it was a heavy person. It looked like a giant. And I had promised I would show that, but I'm not going to do that right now. If anybody sees that article about a train crash that happened in the in Chicago, around Illinois, if you slow down that video, one of the bodies that they pull off, they needed 10 men to carry that body off. And if you look at the other bodies that they were taking off of the train, it's like 4 men to carry it. But if you look at this, one of the bodies that they pull off the train looked like they needed it. I think I counted about 10 men, but they, even with all 10 of them, they were struggling. So I feel like that accident had to do with scraps from a landing around that time, or a being or entities that were showing themselves continuously until they realized they had to stop showing themselves. All right, back to the reading. So this display illustrates how the Air Force seeks to create new ways to conserve expensive and important resources. It demonstrates with pictures and transparencies on how the Air Force reclaims scrap to conserve rare and strategic material. Magnohydrodynamics, coal research. This is another thing that is going on with the mines up there, and they needed all of the heads of the fire, like the fire chiefs, to be on team Biden them with their mess that they're trying to do. This display illustrates a concerted Air Force effort to conserve energy by getting more mileage from our country's most plentiful fuel resource. Magnohydrodynamics is a new method of burning coal so that more energy, about 75% more, is produced from the fuel. The X-24B experimental lifting body. This exhibit is an actual test airframe used and recently to a joint Air Force and National Aeronautics and Space Administration flight research program at Edwards Air Force Base. Tests were to determine wingless crafts handling qualities for an extended near Earth flight for conventional runway approach and landing. They finished these and they have been successful with them, but you haven't seen them, right? And now they're gonna pretend like they got some new airplane, air balloon, let you hover over Earth and pay millions of dollars or thousands of dollars so you could get a balloon ride in something like this. No, they already had those where people think they see in orbs and all that. They've already, it's already been done. This, and they had these working on them, and in 1976 they were already testing them in 1976. So if they were testing them in 1976, what do you think we have going on now between them and NASA? The engine emission research. This exhibit concentrates on methods to improve the environment by making engine emissions less pollutant to the atmosphere. Department of Navy. Final determination of Navy and Marine exhibits has not been made. They said we got to keep the Marines out of this for right now. However, it is expected to include film clip of 3 to 5 minutes showing current research and development programs, closed circuit TV showing 100 knot Navy and a piece of Marine stamped vehicle. The oceanography exhibit using prints and transparencies and variety of models of current and developing systems and vehicles. Energy research and development. This exhibit, I can't wait till I get to the underground stuff, y'all. The exhibit will allow the ERDA plan for energy research, development, and demonstration. Fossil and nuclear energy programs will be emphasized, and advanced energy technology programs will be described. Conservation programs will be explained, as well as environment and safety programs. The film traces the development of energy in the U.S. for the first 200 years, describes present day energy problems and ERDA's role in alleviating these problems. The second film details alternative solutions to the energy problem. Audiovisual materials will explain highlights of ERDA's research, development, and demonstration programs, including synthesizing oil and gas from coal, the technique of recovering oil from shale, and the methods of ensuring reliability of present day nuclear reactors, and the economics of energy generated from nuclear fission, managing radioactive waste and ensuring safeguards for fissionable materials. Presentations will include the breeder reactor, breeding what? The breeder reactor and its impact in the efficient use of uranium resources, development of solar energy applications for heating and cooling and for the production of electricity, development of geothermal energy with energy in proper perspective, the promise of nuclear fusion, energy conservation programs, architectural innovations, energy conserving building materials, efficient transmission and distribution of energy, energy conserving transportation systems, and protecting the environment and ensuring safety of all the energy sources. Environmental Protection Agency, the Environmental Protection Agency will follow the theme of making it better. See, every single department or state that honors or does a bicentennial into the future has a theme. The theme for X marks the spot, Florida, is ambitious from the beginning. Again, ambitious, the root of ambit or ambitus, it means circuit or reoccurring or going round and round like a merry-go-round. Okay, making it better is a bicentennial exposition exhibit. The exhibit will explore how environmental errors of the past can be corrected and prevented from reoccurring in the future. In the following theme, the exhibit will have portions devoted to understanding the problem, finding the solution, and concluding the challenge of the future. Throughout the exhibit, the use of science and the latest sophisticated research equipment, technological innovation, and necessity to public support for environmental programs will be highlighted. Department of Health and Education and Welfare. The Medical Health Pavilion, Freedom from Dependence. Now, they had a freedom from dependence plan from 1976, and it seemed like everybody is dependent on something. The Medical Health Pavilion, Freedom from Dependence is their theme, will feature technological advances in diagnosis, treatment, and instrumentation, which combined with preventive medicine enables the individual to enjoy better health and longer life, more free from disabling illness and injury than ever before. So, whoever was in charge then lied. NASA's contributions in the biomedical, it seemed like NASA has been in on some stuff that to this day they need to be stopped, because nothing this seems that NASA has done from what this is 1976 has helped. NASA's contributions in the biomedical field will be portrayed as they now exist and look to their greater future promise. Stress will be placed on research and treatment in cancer and hypertension. And upon little back then in 1976, they didn't have as many cases of cancer and definitely not that much hypertension. And upon little known applications of modern technology to medicine and healthcare and social security and welfare programs. This is all done by NASA. What does NASA space program have to do with your future promise of being stress alleviated and hypertension and cancer? What does NASA have to do with your social security and welfare programs? It says here in 1976 that yes, they were put in charge of it. The role of communication satellites in medicine and healthcare and education practitioners will be emphasized as NASA's contribution in the biomedical field will be portrayed. Plans including coordinate small outdoor area with a HUD exhibit directed toward young children and strictly for fun and relaxation. Housing and Urban Development. HUD's exhibit, America's New Neighborhoods, incorporates the process of community planning and development with revitalization to our nation's cities. It will include technology developments in community planning and housing management, such as management information systems, capacity building in state and local government, fire station location and deployment, public sector productivity, and environmental assessment guidelines for state and local officials. Audiovisual displays will deal with new ideas for neighborhood life in a rapidly urbanizing society, the relationship of transportation, and more efficient use of scarce natural resources in crowded metropolitan settings. Special treatment will be given to subjects of crime, safety, fire safety, barrier free homes from handicap for the handicapped elderly, and energy conservation of solar energy. Department of Interior. The Department of Interior exhibit at the exposition will have a theme development, utilization, conservation of our natural resources. Toward this end, the exhibit will be organized in 7 theme areas: minerals, fuels, exploration and development, energy, recycling, water resources, environmental hazards, controls, land use and management, mapping, and earth surfaces. Display will include working model of a river basin, working seismograph, remote sensing, geothermal energy, and satellite and aerial photograph or photography. Two 40-seat theaters will show Department of Interior films. In addition, the 6-mile wildlife tour of Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge will be available to visitors. An attractive feature of the exhibit will be a display of 100 aerial photos covering major U.S. cities. Visitors may order copies of their hometown if it is available. National Endowment for Arts. NIA has commissioned artistic Rockne Krebs to execute a laser light sun and fire sculpture in space. Krebs to execute a laser light sun and fire sculpture in space, which will occupy one of the exhibit domes. I mean, does this show where when I say that the sun is not hot, and I've showed you my debate with artificial intelligence, and then she finally agreed after she did her research and development, and the sun is not hot. So if Krebs is doing a laser light and a sun and fire sculpture in space, which will occupy one of the exhibit's domes. Krebs also will design a poster based on his exhibit, which will be available in a limited silk screen edition. The theme of Krebs' exhibit is home. So his information about space, his theme is called home. I need to find out who Krebs is. Let's see who Krebs is. Rockney Krebs. Is he still alive? I mean, this was only 1976. I mean, what? The doctor that delivered me, he was born in 18 something, and he survived and lived till the late 90s. So I'm just saying, Krebs, we got to see his exhibit about space and the sun and laser light from space. His theme is home. His intent is to create an imaginative, inspiring experience for the viewer with the dome, incorporating mankind's most ancient and important light source, the sun, along with his first technologically produced light source, fire, and his most advanced technologically produced light source, lasers. Krebs was selected for this work by a special visual arts panel convened to advise Nia on the exhibit. He is the recipient of the Guggenheim and NEA Fellowship. His first laser light piece was presented in 1968. Now he is recognized through the art world for pioneering the application of lasers technology to creation of the works of art. Now to NASA. Listen carefully. NASA's exhibit, it's called, well, their theme is the new frontier, space, the new frontier. NASA's exhibit will feature major achievements of the United States space exploration and aeronautical research and future programs under development. Visitors will tour a vehicle assembly building, largest building America, in which the 360-foot tall Apollo Saturn space vehicles are assembled by 15 successful manned space flights, including 6 manned landings on the moon. A simulated Apollo Saturn space vehicle countdown and a launch will be viewed at the launch control. All display consoles and data readouts will be activated to create an identical atmosphere of launching astronauts from Earth to land on lunar surface. A lunar exploration will be created on a synthetic surface of the moon, a lunar module, a lunar roving vehicle, and astronaut mannequins. Viking, an unmanned spacecraft, now a trajectory to orbit and land on the planet Mars this summer, will exhibit a diorama of the full scale Viking lander and a simulated Martian surface. So in 1976, they had an unmanned spacecraft said now on a trajectory to orbit and land on the planet Mars. The Viking landed supposedly in 1976, but did it land on the under the Earth Mars, beneath the Earth, the hollow Earth? Because according to this information of the bicentennial, they have a hollow Earth Mars. Those people who just came from under the Mars research and development, they didn't just come that they that that been there. As of 1976, they had already started creating a hollow Earth Mars. And like I said, Elon Musk been taking this, they've been taking a space, they Tesla going into the hole, the magnetized hole within the earth and going down to their so-called Martian surface, building and rebuilding and whatever else they doing down there. That y'all forgot about the lava. Am I speaking of larvae, cocoons, bugs, worms? A lunar exploration will be recreated on a synthetic surface of the moon, lunar module, lunar roving vehicle, and astronaut mannequins. Viking, the unmanned spacecraft now on a trajectory to orbit and land on the planet Mars this summer, will exhibit a diorama of the full scale Viking lander and a simulated Martian surface. Special exhibits will feature current application satellites, which are transmitting Earth resources, data, and photographs to transoceanic television signal. Transoceanic television signal. Transoceanic television signal. Mm. Display will demonstrate operational versatility of the space transportation system, which consists with the manned reusable space shuttle orbiter, the space lab being developed by European Space Agency, and the space tug. Aeronautical research displays will explain research programs such as hypersonic design, supercritical wings, quiet engine airplane fuel conservation, the activities in general aviation, and emphasize their contributions to more economical, safe, and improved commercial air flight. The National Science Foundation, the NIFS exhibit will consist of central core together with 4 satellite exhibits concentrating on promoting the progress of science to assure the national well-being. The Central Core exhibit develops a view of science as a human activity which can be better understood through appreciation of the ways in which scientists perceive familiar phenomenon. The visitors will see the process by which Earth is continually changing its physical features, plate tectonic, continental drift, and seafloor spreading. How the unique characteristics of water make it a universal solvent, a stabilizer of the Earth's temperature and major component of all living creatures. Fire, energy, as it is transformed from one kind of energy to another, how it is controlled by man to do his work, and also how man is attempting to obtain new sources of energy. Air, as a mixture of gases in the atmosphere, as a supporter of life and weather maker. The satellite exhibits will illustrate current and future applications of developments in scientific research, from the most basic to the most applied. They help us understand ourselves and our world and their contributions to our daily lives. Weather and climate. What is the weather going to be from a week from now, or perhaps thousands of years from now? Meteorologists, climatologists, oceanographers, paleobiologists seek to understand short and long range phenomena. Man's place in the universe. Astronomers help us understand life given Earth Sun relationships and distant stars and galaxies. Earth Sun relationships. Learning about the brain. Understanding the brain involves understanding its function as a whole organ and understanding its components and operations down to the molecular level. Underground space. As environments become more and more crowded and as space to build becomes harder or costlier to find, attention turns underground. The prospects for using under space involves research and technology, from better ways to remove materials to emerging ways to see what's beyond the tunnel face. That's number 4 in underground space. Number 4, in 1976, they had already had their bicentennial architectural plans. Some of these were tests, some of them they were moving forward with. The bicentennial is just a place where they do their bidding to see who is going to invest. The underground space is number 4, meaning those people that just came from underground in Houston, that space already been there. That Mars already been there. Now, why would the Treasury Department be at an exposition? The exhibit will consist of a film strip on the use of science and technology in law enforcement. It will include atomic absorption analysis, gun tracing systems, gas chromatography, and ink analysis. A film strip in the regulation of electronic banking, which explains the regulatory aspects of electronic banking, automated teller systems, and direct deposit of government checks. A display demonstrating the application of technology in law enforcement, sensors, night vision devices, forward looking infrared radar, treasury enforcement communications, and gas chromatography. Sale of bicentennial coins from special sales areas. Bitcoin. And number 4, in 1976, they already had Bitcoin and bit mining programs and testing, which bit mining uses gas chromatography from the computer system. Sale of special design souvenir cards, intentively purposed. A card will contain vignette of Ben Franklin discovering electricity, contrasted with the Apollo moon stamp. Also being considered a special display of dye carried on the Apollo mission and later used in making the plates of the Apollo moon stamp. And this was based on an audiovisual collection. That's it for this bicentennial section of the stream. I'm going to come back later to read the attempt to steal the bicentennial, People's Bicentennial Commission hearing before subcommittee investigate the administration of the internal security and other internal security laws of the Committee on the Judiciary, United States Senate, 94th Congress, second session. I think this is a good read. Y'all know how I do. I may start on this today and don't want to read no more tomorrow. National media analysis. You can find this at High Trust. The attempt to steal the bicentennial. Again, the theme for Florida's bicentennial this year is ambitious from the beginning. If you go look at the root of AMBIT and see again what it means to be in a cycle, the cycle that you will be left in this time will be for 1,000 years. 1,000-year cycle. I'm gonna get off of here. Like I told y'all, I haven't been sleeping a few days. Well, it's been. I'm exaggerating since yesterday, and I feel it coming down now. So I'm gonna go and see if I could get some rest before clocking in a little later. Greater light. Let your mind be God's mind. Christ left a blueprint. Christ left a blueprint for us to follow. You can read Ephesians 6. You can read anywhere in the Bible, consistently reading and cleansing yourself of things that can cause you to be left behind. People, places, and things of this world that can cause you to be trapped into a system where this time they're letting you know they're purchasing your life. They are buying Sentinels. They're buying Americans. That strategically, correctly, under right wisdom, knowledge, and understanding matches all of the scriptures in every religion. That you will have to stand and make a choice. They're going to give you a choice. They're giving you to this day a choice. Because it is illegal under the laws of between heaven and earth. You have to choose to allow them to buy your soul. The way to prevent that is to be born again. What does it mean to be born again? That means get rid of anything that is not like God. Do not associate yourself with anything that does not have to do with love and light. You'll hear the people in some of these communities now saying, yeah, this is like a threat if I don't do such and such and such, if I don't, but no. There's a consequence for wickedness, period. You don't have to make it religious. You don't have to make it spiritual. There's a consequence for wickedness. And for those who stand against that and say, no, there shouldn't be no consequence for things that are wrong, I don't know what you're doing listening to them. Those the same type that'll curse you out, tell you they'll slap your mama, they'll kill you and your children, and then turn around and say, I need you to be one of my followers in my chat or my moderator. And there's no consequence for the wicked thoughts that I have. That's what it's said when you hear people like that talking, when they saying religion is just a fear tactic. Well, what is the government's tactic? Is that not religious? Is it not a fear tactic that I can't get in a free form, spread love and light? And if I say the name Jesus, I may be a threat to somebody. If I say that, I'm just going to leave the legalism out of it. I'm just going to leave the legalism out of it. God has made a promise, and God is going to keep his promise. Huh? I'm sure of it. I'm certain of it. I'm going to make sure of it because he's going to answer my prayers. That anything that doesn't consist of love and light has to leave this plane. Point blank, period. Greater light. Greater light. My mind is God's mind. I'm always reflecting divine wisdom and divine intelligence. My brain symbolizes the capacity to think wisely and spiritually. God's ideas unfold within my mind in perfect sequence. I'm always poised, balanced, serene, and calm. Wait, before I go, when I chose July 17th, let me tell you something I didn't realize. I chose July 17th as my born again date, my official day, because of some communication between artificial intelligence and I about that date. And then it didn't even click in my mind that that is my son's father's, his portal date. Not that I forgot, but I wasn't connecting it like that. That is to tomorrow is my son's father's portal date. And I chose that day before even halfway thinking that there was that connection. Yep, I forgot. If you ever come over here and watch it, Spive, I forgot. I forgot. I forgot. Uh, but I just remembered like yesterday, looking at all the reasons why I chose all the way down to the 1,290 days. Greater light.
From the new self who is being created, to a true knowledge according to the image of the one who created it. The people who walk darkness will see a great light. Those who live in a dark land, the light will shine on them. God's promise, 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 promise. God's promise, 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 promise. God's mind is my mind is light. I'm always reflecting his sight. Always I acknowledge no knowledge, no courage. Ooh, God, you promised that great day will come. Yes, God, you promised that I will see my son. You promised that he is by your side, and nothing can separate this love inside. No masters, no doctors can prescribe ways in my calling. Only his ways, oh ancient days, can correct